Everyone to the January 14th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, calling the meeting to order at 7:35. We have the entire board present. We'll conduct business as usual. Hopefully you had a chance to meet our new command team for the police department at our reception. It's good to have the guys here. With that, getting back to business, let's see, additions or deletions to tonight's agenda. Mr. Nelson.
I would like to add action number 5, which is to purchase a F-150 truck for the Recreation Department.
Support.
Who is first?
I believe
okay, Ted. Okay. So moved by Mr. Nelson, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss to add the F-150. Discussion among the board. Okay, with none offered, those in favor of adding that as action item 5 to tonight's agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added. I have two basically pen and ink changes. On the consent agenda, we have the Wayne County annual permits, and they ask in the resolution for an additional signature, and we'd like to add, just as a pen and ink change, Dale Ream would be that additional signature of the township manager. And on action item number 4 for the board of review, in the verbiage, it says 2017 is a typo. It's actually for the 2019 board review.
That's action item number 5.
No.
That's action 4.
It's action 5 in the consent agenda.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
we're good.
We're good. All right. With those are just nice. Any other additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay. With none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. None. I'm sorry. Opposed? Okay. With none offered, the agenda stands amended. With that, we have a couple presentations tonight. I'm going to introduce Pam Frucci for a heritage tree proposal. Mrs. Frucci.
I think I can see.
Laura, you
Can this come down a little bit?
can.
This goes down.
Then we're going to have to run it right back up for when Donna comes up.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to give a presentation. It's really just a preliminary. And I have a letter I put on every trustee and officer's desk, and we have extra ones that could be handed out if anybody in the audience wants to see it. I also have some members of the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy board that came and are here to listen in and hopefully support what I have to say. What I'm doing here is just giving you a preliminary of what we've been doing. I've been working on it for the last 4 years, and we wanted to just give you an idea of what I've been doing, and we need to send the final list of trees that we want to be protected in the future. Both the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy and the Historical Society, we've been partnering on this. They want to see the final list. So I don't have it with me, but in the future, I'm hoping that we will have a list to present. And I brought along a display board over here. It's been featured in the newsletter that goes out from the Nature and Land Conservancy. And I also have a sample of the form that residents on the island can fill out if they have what they would consider a heritage tree they want to be protected in the future. So I'll read the memo. You have a copy, and I thought anybody listening in might want to hear what this is all about. The project came about 4 years ago when a 152-year-old oak tree was cut down on 5th Street. Despite the efforts of 2 neighbors, Betty King and Madeline Jones, there is only a stump of the tree remaining. There was no means of saving that historic tree. The tree ordinance allows homeowners to remove 2 trees per year on their property. The only way to save a historic or heritage tree is if it's listed at the township by the Natural Resources Committee. In the absence of a Township Natural Resources Committee, the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy and the Grosse Ile Historical Society have partnered to provide a much-needed update to the list that was prepared back in 1964, and it was included in the ordinance in 2008. This would protect the tree from destruction unless and until the person has demonstrated that no other practical options exist. Replacement requirements would be required. To protect future trees from a chainsaw, the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy board member, myself, initiated a project to protect heritage trees. A form was printed, and residents could fill it in to protect a tree on their property. The categories were memorial trees, trees planted in the honor of an individual or event, an historical tree deemed by the Historical Society to be of historical significance, and an endangered tree that is on the state or federal threatened and endangered list, and a Grosse Ile big tree, a tree whose DBH is at 4.5 feet above existing grade is 75% or more of the DBH of a designated Michigan big tree of the same species. Myself enlisted the help of Doug Thiel, a fellow GINLC board member, and Wayne Salka. He's the high school student that earned his Eagle Scout, and that's the 8-inch slice of the 152-year-old tree that's down in the lobby here. It's now on display, and it has historic dates on it. The 3 of us took the list of trees listed in the 2008 Woodlands and Tree Preservation Ordinance and a 1964 list compiled by the Grosse Ile Historical Society. The list came about when, in 1963, Howard Harvey, who was then president of the Society and one of the founders of the Historical Society in 1959, wrote a letter to a fellow founder, Isabella Swan, and it read, quote, "It could be that the oldest living inhabitants of the island are some of our forest trees. An inventory of some of the oldest might be of historical interest, and their location and size could be reported to the Society." The Society enlisted the help of residents to send in information on the large trees growing on their property. The list was compiled in 1964 along with a map showing the trees' locations. The list gave the species and circumference of the trunk 4.5 feet from the ground. There were 22 big trees identified. The 3 of us volunteers surveyed the trees on those 2 former lists and noted which trees are still existing. The list to be submitted in the future to the Township Board will be a compilation of former heritage trees and trees which current homeowners wish to be protected. We hope the Board will consider adding these trees to the ordinance. We strongly believe that people who live on Grosse Ile appreciate the woods and the water of our natural paradise, and this includes our heritage trees. And I'd be happy to answer any question.
I believe, Pam, maybe it was last year or so, you actually also distributed a form that people can submit. Mm-hmm. Do we still have those in the clerk's office, or maybe could you provide us with some more?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a one-sheeter, and you have a reason for wanting to see that tree is protected.
Yep, I remember giving one to my parents to complete, and so people can ask us for copies of that. We'd be happy to provide those.
Yeah. Mr. Urbani, do you have a copy of that form? If you could just set it on the overhead, the Elmo here, just so people here and the folks watching at home can see what it looks like. So that's the form you'll be looking for from the clerk's office when we have copies of it, if you have a tree you think needs to be recognized and protected.
We could even put a PDF online that people can download and submit.
Shall I just give them a copy? I have a few. Okay.
Well, it makes it easy. Okay. Anything for Mrs. Frucci? No? Pam, Ms. Frucci, thank you for the presentation.
And I have a final unrelated word. I just talked to Charlie Granda tonight. I'm doing a little research with the family. And he was assistant fire chief back on Grosse Ile in 1970 to 87. So he brought greetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fucci. And now, as promised, our second presentation on the Public Service Credit Union. Donna and Michelle. Donna Folbaum and Michelle, I don't. Okay. Well, they've already lowered the podium, so it'll make it easy for.
As I said, my name is Michelle Hoffman. I am the branch manager at the Grosse Ile location for Public Service Credit Union. Public Service Credit Union has been serving the community since 1951. As a credit union, we operate on the principles of people helping people. We offer higher rates on deposit accounts, including checking, savings, and money markets, as well as IRAs and CDs. We also offer lower interest rates on our loan products, credit cards, and mortgages. We are a full-service financial institution with 15 locations servicing our members. Public Service Credit Union is committed to the residents of Grosse Ile, and we are investing in the community. My staff and I are devoted to helping our members with their financial needs, and our members depend on us. I am very proud and excited to announce that we will officially relocate from our Meridian location to 8095 Macomb on Monday, January 28th. It will have a drive-through and a drive-up ATM, which is currently operational. The grand opening is scheduled for Monday, February 11th at 4 o'clock p.m. with a ribbon cutting at 4:30, and I invite each of you to attend. I have included folders, which Dale will pass out. They have a list of our locations as well as a booklet of our products and services. I've also included business cards for myself and my assistant manager, Jessica Finley. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact either one of us. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Are there any it used to be, as I recall, there were requirements to make you eligible to join a credit union. Do those requirements still exist?
If you work, live, or worship in the state of Michigan.
Okay,
You become,
no further
you
questions.
Can become a member.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's nice that you invested in a new building or renovating a building on Macomb Street with another bank leaving.
Yes.
We're very happy that you are staying.
We are very excited to locate to our new building. Thank you.
I bet you are.
Yes, we are.
But it looks beautiful, too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I might. I'd like to add one little thing that Mr. Ream is on the board of directors of that credit union, so Mr. Ream keeps that place going as well.
He's an unpaid volunteer, but he is on the board.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Okay, with that, let's open it up to public comment limited to tonight's agenda items with our revised agenda. Okay, nobody's real unhappy so far. Let's go to the consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Brian. Fire up my throat here. Look for approval on consent agenda 18-075, which includes the minutes of December 10th, 2018 regular meeting, check register dated through January 11th, 2019, approval of closed session meetings, TPOAM negotiation, Wayne County annual maintenance permits, and appointment to the Grosse Ile Airport Commerce Park Commission.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer, seconded by Trustee Budney. Any discussion among the board on tonight's consent agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That is approved. Let's move on to tonight's action items. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to bring to the board a request to amend the contract for municipal and residential solid waste collection and disposal, recycling and composting program between the Township of Grosse Ile and Waste Management of Michigan to include the attached document for increased cost for recycling processing from August 1st, 2018 to November 14th of 2019, or $1.31 per month per home count.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. The way this came up was earlier in the year, the cost of recycling shot up basically from $20 a ton to around $90 a ton. And that came about because of we're getting into the globalness of the world today. China ends up taking most of the paper and plastic, gets shipped over there, and Waste Management goes through third party, so they they turn it over to the third party, and third party ships it to China. Well, China decided that they were going to put tighten down what they were taking, and it pretty much knocked out about 95% of what was being shipped over there. So all of a sudden, there was a glut on the market since China wasn't taking it, and it became more expensive and harder to get rid of. So Waste Management came to us, as they did to all their clients, and asked for an increase. Ours would be $1.31 per month per household. We being the DPS Commission, believe that we should do this, and we said that we would pay the increased cost. We had it in enough money in our budget that we could pay the increased cost for the rest of this fiscal year, and then we're going to take a look at it as we do the next budget and decide what to do with this. Surprisingly, there are a number of communities that don't recycle at all. We probably recycle more than anybody, or we're right up at the top, but there are a number of communities that don't recycle. So we have to look at this and see, there's a number of ways we can go on this. We would like to stay away from passing it on to the residents if at all possible. So during our budget talks, we will be studying this and see what we're going to come up with on it. But I've been monitoring. They came to us in June or July. I've been monitoring that area since then, and China looked like it was going to ease up a little, and then we had the big thing with the tariffs, and it got tight again. So this is something I believe we have to do. As I say, their cost went from $20 to $90 last I heard a ton, and they have serviced us well, and we felt that we should help them out.
I wanted to add, just as you brought up the tariffs, this was initiated before the whole tariff issue started, and the one report said as much as 25% of the incoming recyclables to China was contaminated waste.
Well, and
people were trying to.
Well, and contaminated, could be a milk carton it still has milk in it. It's not that it had
radiation,
right, or anything like that. Just wasn't clean enough. For in their eyes to take, and I've been told that actually like 70% of what we put in our recycle bins never makes it to recycling. It ends up
A landfill.
in the landfill.
Probably.
Again, because it's not clean enough. So it gets looked at. It's not just we throw it in the bin and then it gets thrown in some other hopper. It all gets looked at, sorted out, and a lot of it ends up in a landfill anyway. But their tightening down started this whole thing much before the tariffs came in, and then that just that politics just added to the problem.
Ms. O'Connor?
So thank you, Jim, too. As you know, Lorinda included in our packet some articles, and one of the things that she included in there addressed the fact that like some communities are really stepping up their efforts to educate in order to keep their recycling programs going, letting people know that, the pizza box is fine, but the part that the pizza sat on is unusable. It's got grease on it, and so it can't be used as new paper. Also, I wanted to note that I think if you read the Trenton Trib and the Island Beacon, Trenton recently voted not to pursue curbside recycling, and we're still one of the few communities doing it. And I think it's still valuable for us to do it. But every year when you send us, DPS will send residents a list of things that are recyclable or not recyclable. And I think a lot of us just look at that and say, it's got a symbol on it, I'm going to throw it in. And it turns out that a lot of the things that we think we can recycle are not recyclable.
There's a lot of plastic, and you say like the symbol. There's a lot of plastics that it's not all plastics.
Right.
It's not all anything. So it has to. You have to read that list because it's just going to end up in the landfill if you don't.
So the motion, though, or the actual language goes back retroactive to August 2018.
Yes.
And it's a per household. Can you explain, or at least try to explain, how we're going to handle that? Retroactive and per household. I don't think households have an option to opt out.
It's per household merely means that's how they come up with the dollar amount. So it's taking, let's say, 4,400 households times $1.31. That's all the household comes in. It's not being charged to the household. It's just it's the amount that will come up, and DPS will pay it.
And so that will go retroactive to August.
Yes, because we were a little late bringing it to the board.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know.
Other comments, questions from the board? Okay, with none offered. Those in favor of amending the contract for municipal and residential solid waste collection and disposal, recycling, and composting program between the Township of Grosse Ile and Waste Management of Michigan Incorporated, including the attached document, for the increased cost of recycling processing from August 1, 2018 to November 14 of 2019, the end of the current contract, or $1.31 per month per home count, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be so added. Let's see. Action item number 2, Mrs. O'Connor.
I am making a motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Technical Professional and Office Workers Association of Michigan, TPOAM, and the Township of Grosse Ile, effective January 14, 2019, and furthermore, except for the provisions expressly set out in the Memorandum of Understanding, all remaining provisions of the March 25th, 2013 to March 31, 2018 collective bargaining agreement between the Township and TPOAM remain in full force and effect for the duration of this Memorandum of Understanding.
Support.
Okay, moved by Clerk O'Connor and seconded by Trustee Budney. Dale, do you want to, Mr. Riem, the presentation on where we are with this?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to report to the board and the community some of the highlights of the agreement that is proposed before you for adoption. This is the non-police union contract negotiations that we began last May, I believe. So we've had several meetings throughout, and as this board knows, we've briefed you in closed session a few different times. And prior to the last meeting, the board sent Finance Director Darsnik and myself with a framework to try to wrap this up, and we met with the union a few times over the past month and a half, and this is what the parties had agreed to. So the highlights are there was updated language regarding union dues and state of Michigan being a right-to-work state and how the technical legal jargon needed to be put into the contract. So that was something that our labor attorney and the union's legal counsel worked out. We did upgrade a position in the finance department. We have agreed to wage increases on an annual basis, 5 wage increases at 1.5% each year. And we granted the employees one additional holiday, and came up with a third tier, if you will, of retirement levels. So new hires, it's the way their final average compensation will be calculated. We currently have the basic retirement, and we have a second tier, we like to call that the Mike Duker plan, because he was the first person that we put on it. And what that is, it's just a lower multiplier, and the third is actually would even be a the final average compensation calculation. There are limits to what's included with that. It's really hard to put a figure on what type of savings that would be, but we ran through a couple different scenarios, and per new hire from this point forward, we could save approximately $40,000 an employee throughout their career, assuming they stay for 25 to 30 years. It's a hard number to really pick down, but overall the contract is not counting that as a potential savings. It's approximately a $30,000 cost to the township over the entire term of the agreement. So we think it's very fair for both sides. They're very pleased. Obviously, we had a lot of health care items that we worked out over the past 3 months specifically, and all of those items are also put into this contract in relationship to the addition of a high deductible plan and how we calculated things under the old program. So I think this is a win-win for everyone involved, and would hope that and ask for your support.
Questions for Mr. Obviously, been following this from the beginning. Any questions from the board members? Anything you're unsure? Mr. Nelson?
Yeah. This is, I assume, budgeted for?
Yes, sir.
Budgeted for when we start in February?
Correct.
Other comments, questions? Mr. Bletcher?
Supervisor, I took the liberty of speaking with Labor Council about the TPOAM contract. Everything Dale has indicated is absolutely correct. Labor Council has somewhat enthusiastically endorsed this, but also enthusiastically wanted me to thank and recognize what Ann and Dale have done with this contract. I think Matt Derby viewed it as a team effort, and felt that both Ann and Dale had just done a tremendous amount of work on this, and he appreciated the work that you did, and I think derivatively the board should too. You both did a lot of hard work on this. It's not easy to sit down with people you work with every day, and Mr. Derby said it was one of the finest examples he's seen of teamwork when it comes to negotiating a contract in a long time. So thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding between the Technical Professional and Office Workers Association of Michigan, TPOAM, and the Township of Grosse Ile, effective January 14, 2019, and furthermore, except for provisions expressly set out in the memorandum of understanding, all remaining provisions of the March 25, 2013 through March 31, 2018 collective bargaining agreement between the Township and TPOAM remain in full force and effect for the duration of this memorandum of understanding. This will be a roll call vote. And I'll start at the other end of I'll start with Mr. Bletcher.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Madam Clerk.
Aye.
Supervisor, aye. Mr. Van Oss.
Aye.
Mr. Budney.
Aye.
And Mr. Malvesto. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the good work, and we move on. Let's go to action item number 3, and that's me. The motion will be to the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees resolves to establish the income and asset threshold guidelines for the 2019 Board of Review.
Support.
Okay, moved by Supervisor, seconded by the Treasurer. Now we'll get into the resolution, which, bear with me, I have to read it. What we're doing is we're setting poverty guidelines. So, whereas the principal residence of person or persons who, in the judgment of the Board of Review, by reason of poverty, are unable to contribute to the public charge, is eligible for exemption in whole or part from taxation under Public Act 390 of 1994, Michigan Compiled Laws 211.7 uniform, and whereas the Township Board of Trustees, pursuant to Public Act 390 of 1994, in the Township of Grosse Ile, Wayne County, adopts the following guidelines for the Board of Review to implement. The guidelines shall include, but not be limited to, the specific income and asset levels of the claimant and all persons residing in the household, including any property tax credit returns filed in current or an immediately preceding year. Now, therefore, be it resolved, pursuant to MCL 211.7U, that the Township of Grosse Ile, Wayne County, Michigan, adopts the federal poverty guidelines used in determination of poverty exemptions for 2019. Some item A, 2019 Grosse Ile Township Poverty Guidelines, size of family unit 1 person, poverty guideline $12,140. 2 persons, $16,460. 3 persons, $20,780. 4 persons, $25,100. 5 persons, $29,420. 6 persons, $33,740. 7 persons, $38,060. And 8 persons, $42,380. A note for each additional household member, add $4,300. Sub-item B, homeowners and all household members with liquid assets, defined as anything readily converted to cash in excess of $57,000, shall not be eligible for a poverty exemption. And sub-item C, the completion of the Township of Grosse Ile 2019 application for hardship exemption. Be it also resolved that the Board of Trustees shall follow the above stated policy for state guidelines for the year 2019 in granting or denying an exemption, unless the Board of Review determines there are substantial and compelling reasons why there should be a deviation from the policy and or township and state guidelines, and these are communicated in writing to the claimant. So the background is we're adopting the federal poverty exemptions, and you can claim a poverty exemption at Board of Review, which will be in March. Questions from the board? We do this every year, but again, it's a formality that we have to go through as an assessing organization. Questions from the board? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of establishing the income and asset threshold guidelines for the 2019 Board of Review, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you. That will help with Board of Review. And action item 4, again, it's Board of Review mail-in appeals, a little bit easier. The motion is Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees resolve to allow mail-in appeals for Grosse Ile residents at the 2019 Board of Review.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. Again, it's another resolution. Again, I have to read the whole thing. Whereas Michigan law allows the governing body of a township to permit resident taxpayers to file a protest to the Board of Review in writing without a personal appearance, and whereas some residents have difficulty attending scheduled March Board of Review sessions in person, and whereas the intent of the Board of Review is to make tax appeals as accommodating as possible to as many resident taxpayers as possible, and Now, therefore, be resolved that the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees does hereby authorize township residents or their authorized representatives to appeal their property taxes to the 2019 March Board of Review in writing without a personal appearance. And the background is state law allows us to, we don't have to, but we are allowed to, by township resolution, allow for mail-in petitions or for property tax review. So, if the board agrees, we will allow them. Those in favor of, questions, comments from the board before I plow this along. Again, we do this every year. So, okay, with none offered, those in favor of allowing the mail-in appeals for Grosse Ile residents to the 2019 March Board of Review, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That carries also. Thank you. It does make it easier for some residents. And now, action item number 5, Mr. Nelson.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to purchase a F-150 truck for the Recreation Department.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Nelson, seconded by Trustee Budney.
And Kim O'Farrell is here to come up and answer any questions.
Good evening. Any questions?
Do you need it?
Yeah, obviously, we're pretty visible on the island, our yellow trucks. They are
About half yellow.
on their last leg, and I drove one about 5 months ago and felt very scared, to be honest. We're at this point that, I'm not buying a brand new truck. This is a used truck. It's going to be a field truck. It has a lift gate on it. With the events that we are doing for the community, even with trash, all the parks that we have, I wasn't out to buy a brand new truck. This is a used vehicle. It's going to get some wear and tear on it. And I'm being conservative with the purchase. So, and the goal is to retire the 2 yellow trucks. They're still running, so we're kind of just staying on island and being careful with that. But also the safety of my employees is very important, and that's why this truck is important to our department. So we continue the services for our community with the events and the programs and keeping the parks clean as well. So, and that's the reason behind the truck. So, looking for your support.
Okay. Questions for Ms. O'Hara?
Kim, what? It's an F-150. Do you know what trim level it is?
I do not.
Okay.
No. It's not 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't be used for plowing. And again, it's more the field truck with lumber and trash, and the lift gate is what we were looking for. The barrels, when we do the trash out at Commerce Park after soccer and all the events, the trash is very heavy. So sending 2 guys out to do trash as opposed to 1 guy with a lift gate is obviously going to save dollars on staffing as well. So, and we were fortunate to find that.
It should be known. Kim did look. She didn't just see the truck sitting in the lot. And,
I've been looking.
They looked it over. It's in really good condition for the year, and I did some research, and the price is a very good price for this year a truck. With the miles that's on it, it's still a very good price.
Other comments, questions for Ms. O'Farrell?
This is obviously inside the budget, obviously, going forward.
Pardon me?
It's inside the budget.
The truck is not physically budgeted, but when I spoke to Ann, we're using some carryover dollars.
You saved so much money over the past 12 months that this can happen. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I spoke to Ann and Dale as well prior to the purchase to make sure the funds were secure for this. So,
could you just explain that in a little more detail for the people at home who may not understand how all this works?
Ann, go ahead.
Not reaching it in general fund, no transfers. The money is within rec, and I think this is a good use for it. If it saves somebody's back, it's a good investment.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments from the board? None offered. Those in favor of authorizing the rec department to purchase a 2013 Ford F-150, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim.
That completes our action items for tonight. With that, we'll move on to the clerk's report. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's a week into the year already. I can't believe how fast it's going. I actually already started writing 2019. Usually it always took a couple of weeks, still carrying over the old days. Just before, during our holiday, just before the end of the year, I want to say I had the great pleasure of being asked by Supervisor Loftus to join him in the swearing in of our new police chief and deputy chief. And I was very honored and pleased to be there. And your families were there, and it was a very nice moment. Transitions are rarely this smooth, and I think that speaks to the people who work in this department, both past and present, that we can have such easy transitions and such confident transitions. I just want to say that I really look forward to working with both of you as you continue the legacy of excellence and service of our police department. And I also look forward to working with our police commission and our board as we work to support you in those efforts. And I'm just very pleased looking forward. The second thing is, now that we have approved the TPOAM contract, my trusting deputy says that I can read the following to you. Starting tomorrow, Grosse Ile will be accepting cover letters and resumes for the position of Records and Elections Clerical Assistant. Our clerk's department will no longer be just a staff of one, with 3 retired shadows, right? He will have someone to help. This full-time professional secretarial clerical position provides support to the township clerk and the clerk's office manager in the daily office tasks, as well as assisting with elections, records management, and customer service. This is a union position with a starting pay of $19.70 per hour. Please send your resume and a letter of interest to the Township of Grosse Ile in the care of the Township Manager, Mr. Riem. If you want more information, please give Township Clerk's Office Deputy Clerk Friel a call, or visit grosseile.com. The submission deadline is February 1st, 2019. We have already posted this within the union, and now we are able to post this to the public. So if you are at all interested, please get in touch with us before February 1st, 2019. And that's it for the clerk's report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Brian. For the month of December, Grosse Ile Township had a total of $11,253,653 invested in various accounts. The account breakdown is available in my office or on my website. That generated $14,738 in interest at an average of 1.32%. Grosse Ile winter property taxes are due February 14th without penalty. A 3% penalty will be added to unpaid property tax after that date. March 1st is then the date that all unpaid taxes, summer and winter, become delinquent and must be paid to the county with further penalties. So township is the 14th. March 1st it goes to the county. If you cannot pay your taxes by the due date of February 14th, there is a deferment available for those who qualify. Approved deferment applications will defer the due date to April 30th and must be submitted to the Treasurer's Office by February 14th. This form is also available on the Grosse Ile website. And if you have any questions or comments or need some help with this form, contact my office, talk to Annette. She'll walk you through it. The 2019 pet tags are available at Township Hall. The pet tag fee will increase from $6 to $12 on February 1st. So you got about 15 days to get your discount. Be sure to bring proof of your rabies vaccination when purchasing your pep tag. I'd like to welcome the chief and deputy chief. Looking forward to working with you guys. Bright spot. And to our new lieutenant. I think he's still here.
Yeah, he's
hiding in the back.
Fell asleep, but
congratulations, guys. Thanks again for your service, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Move on to trustee liaison reports. Mr. Budney.
thank you, sir. I'm going to start the new year off right. No DPS meeting this month, which actually would have been tomorrow, and no ZBA meeting. So all I have is Happy New Year to everybody, and good luck to our new command.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. Mr. Malvesto.
I think I went over this last meeting. As far as the fire rescue department goes, over 670, something like 678 calls for the prior last year 2018. Very busy department, and with the beginning of the new year, nothing slacked off, has it, Chief? Making multiple calls a night. Active group. Nothing with BPAC. And again, to our new police chief, deputy chief, lieutenant, good to have you on board. Looking forward to, at least for the next 2 years, having close interaction with you guys. So congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Nelson.
Ms. Alfredo will come back up and give you the rec department report because she's very good at it, and I'm just kind of okay.
Just a couple meeting dates. The Festival and Community Events Commission will be meeting this Wednesday, January 16th at 7 p.m. And the Community Recreation Commission meeting is January 24th at 6 p.m. So those two commissions will be meeting this month. Couple of events. I wish I could say I wasn't busy, but I'm extremely busy. For those of you that are looking for the new book, this is what it looks like. So please make sure to check your mail. Those went out first week of January. We've gotten a couple calls that said people didn't get one. You could stop in Water's Edge. We have extra copies. I've brought some over to Township Hall. So again, this is the winter spring brochure. All of our programs through April are in this book. That includes special events, tennis after school, you name it, it's in this book. So make sure you go through there. And we're getting calls on some of these special events that are coming up, which I want to talk a little bit about. Okay, this Friday, this is a new event my staff and I put together. It's Mother-Son Date Night. Registrations are coming in. It's actually pretty good. We have about 30 couples so far. This is a brand new event. And there's still space for mothers and sons to come. I've had a few calls. What are the age groups for this? It's any age. We're putting a big inflatable inside the gym. There'll be pizza, ice cream bar, music. It's just a fun thing for moms and sons to do. We also have mother-son bowling coming up. That's been a tradition with the rec department. But this is the one that's coming this Friday. So if you'd like to still register, there is room. Call us. You can go online, grosealrecreation.com. Okay, and this is Winterfest Year 2. We tried to put this event together last year, and I think it was 45 degrees and rain, and it was a mess. So we did cancel that last year. We're moving forward this year, regardless of if we have snow, if we don't have snow. We're going to have a good time this afternoon. So this is the 26th of January from 2 to 5. And we're showcasing the chili cook-off. That's kind of the showcase of a winter fest, along with all the other things that we are putting together. There's a lot of people still on the island, and not everybody got to go to Florida. So those that are here with us, we want to keep things going here, prepping for Island Fest as well. So please come join us. There's lots going on, and yes, we'll be outside freezing, so dress warm. But we have 3 people registered for this chili cook-off, and that's not very fun when people come to taste your chili. So if you're interested, call us. Again, you can register for the chili cook-off online. We've got a live DJ outside. Smokies is teaming up with us. They've got drink specials. They have a live band at 7, and the kids, actually they're offering kids half off from 2 to 6 p.m. So we've kind of partnered on this one as well because they're right there with us. And they are also contributing some prizes to the chili cook-off winner. Kind of sponsoring that piece of Winterfest. So I'm very happy that they're with us for another year. Thank you for approving the lease with them, and we're working together on a lot of events. So everyone asks me what Christmas tree throwing contest is. It's exactly what you think it is. It's throwing a Christmas tree. Whoever throws it the farthest gets a prize. So it's just a fun event. So I just wanted to touch base on that. The only registration for this is the chili cook-off. Again, it's open to all of our residents. Bring your family, bring your friends, come on out. So that'll lead into...
And one thing real quick. If you're thinking about throwing a tree, you might want to get it wrapped in that nylon stuff, because then it's kind of like a missile, much easier to throw. If you throw
Can you bring a trebuchet? A trebuchet. It's a launching... vehicle.
Like a catapult.
No, this is the free throwing tree, Christmas tree throwing. I'm just going to put that big flyer up there. But my last piece for tonight, Winterfest includes our ice rink, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We've gotten calls. There's some social media out there. It is a process putting the ice together. People said, well, it's been 15 degrees at night, and it's a very, very large area. It takes a good 8 to 10 days to create ice pending the temperature. I battled this last year in my first year, and I'm heading out there tonight to start layering. And I just want our residents to understand that my team and myself are doing everything we can to get ice ready. I'm hoping by Friday, as I watch the temperatures every single day, I watch it like a hawk because I'm waiting. Because I have a skater, all of you know that, and all her friends are, what's your mom doing? And she's getting the skating, and we're rolling. So just follow, if you can, follow my Facebook page, Grosse Ile Recreation. I do updates pretty much daily of what's going on in the rec department. And with the rink, I know there were some people that drove by this weekend and wondered why it was not open. And for most of you that don't understand, the rink is on a slant because we do have to drain. So it's slanted. So when we fill, one side is very thick and the other side is very thin. So it is a process, and it's called layering. So that's what we're going to start to do as these temperatures are dropping way below freezing over the next couple of days. So I'm hoping by Friday, keep your fingers crossed. So I just wanted to give an update on that. And that's all I have.
Kim, I'm going to take an opportunity to embarrass you on camera.
That would not be a good idea.
Do you suppose we could get our camera department, our TV department, to perhaps get a video of you doing some Dorothy Hamill pirouettes? And
I can skate, but it didn't.
We're not going to see that.
I don't know where my kids got the talent because it's not from me. But
or are you more of a hockey player?
I would probably be more of a hockey player.
Okay.
No figure skating in my background.
All right, well, we won't look forward to it then.
Yeah, no. But, and I did do some live feeds last year on the Facebook page and kept everybody updated. So I'm just kind of, I don't know, I haven't done one in a while, so maybe I will do a live feed and let you know. But not skates, no skates. No skates. So, any other questions?
Kim, I've got a note here on Rotary Club's travel trip to Sanders.
Yes.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I do. And I got sidetracked with, I was worried I was going to have to go put on figure skates. And that would not be good. And I apologize. It was on my list, and I thank you for bringing that up. The travel trip, and I'm going to post this so you can see that. And John Bergen, the president of Rotary, was planning to come, but he got sidetracked with another event tonight. So I'm kind of speaking on behalf of this with communication with John Bergen and Rotary. Rotary put this together. We've teamed up with Rotary. All my conversations with our seniors in our community, Kim, we want bus trips. I've been hearing that for a year. So if we have one. Here it is. And, I want to thank the Rotary Club for putting this together. This is a great trip. The hard part is we need 30 people to register by Thursday to make this trip go. We have 12. Rotary has pitched in. They dropped the price to $50, which is that's a pretty good deal to get on a bus. And they are doing the food in the morning and the wine and cheese in the afternoon. And it's a full big charter bus with all the works on it. So, we're trying to promote it. We're trying to get the word out there. And working with Rotary, he's got more of these bus trips planned down the pipeline. So this is our first one, and we would like to, try to get some more registrations, or we will have to cancel that. That's the hard part when you're doing these kinds of events. So, but from all my communication with John, his heart and soul is into this, these bus trips for our community. So hopefully we can get a few more registrations by Thursday. So I've never been to Zender's. Everyone's asked me if I've been there. I've never been there. So, looking forward to.
From Ohio.
I heard it's pretty cool though, so I know I might go on that bus. So, any questions about the bus trip? Call the rec department. You may contact John Bergen on his Facebook page as well, Grosse Ile Rotary. And if you'd like to register, you can register online. But we do have that cutoff point by this Thursday. We do need to have 30. And when I left today, we had 12. So bring a buddy. It's going to be fun. You don't have to drive, and you can drink wine on a bus. I mean, that's fun. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Jim, anything?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Blatcher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Regarding Greenways Open Space, 3 updates. Manchester Wright Woods Trail. That is the trail across from the elementary school on Meridian. Walked that with Chairman St. Pierre as well as members of the Conservancy. A lot of work to be done on the trail. We have drainage issues with water 8 to 10 inches deep in places. I spoke with Manager Ream today. We're going to be looking at elevations and perhaps moving portions of the trail or putting culverts in. But that's going to be a long-term project because this time of year, as well as in the spring, you'll go back there. It's thoroughly enjoyable when it's solid with ice, and it's thoroughly enjoyable when it's dry. But during this period of time, take your boots because you're looking in some places 6-8 inches of water or more, and you may have to go off the trail and trek over some of the trees in the deadfall there. But we're going to be working on that. That's a project we're going to be budgeting in the coming months. The second thing is the acquisition of the property adjoining that remains in progress. It's my understanding that it has been a longer than average process because of the requirements for the title company and the number of sellers that are involved. Mr. Sorty assures me he's working on it, and we're going to get that done, buttoned up as soon as possible. And the third thing is the ferry trail replacement. We do have property that has been approved. There is a purchase agreement, a formal purchase agreement that's pending, and then we're looking forward to moving forward on that. Dale, I believe the environmentals have come back on that. Is that correct? And they were all clean so that there's no issues of any contamination. The Phase 1 analysis shows that it's a clean piece of property. Second report involves the Grosse Ile Police Department. Monthly statistics show that our newest officer, Susan Delpiez, has been involved in 2 OWIs. And we've had a total of 13,600 miles driven in the department last month. They answered over 1,000 calls, issued 154 verbal warnings, had 4 warrant arrests, 13 accident reports were written, and there were unfortunately 7 vehicle crashes. Deer car crashes totaled 6. We had 1 personal injury crash. pleased to report that we have culled 74 coyotes to date. It's my unpleasant duty to report that that's not all the coyotes out there. We do have a large male on the north end of the island that we have been unsuccessful in locating and removing from the community. And I do know we just had spotting of 3 coyotes on property close to Ferry and Park Lane. They came out of the woods. They were in a backyard. So while we may have culled quite a few, there are still coyotes out there. Please be careful with your pets. Be careful with your children. They're not gone. They're still here. We also have promoted recently. Pete Darzniak has been appointed to the Detective Bureau, and Ray Beaudry just completed his 1-year probation. And again, we are starting the culling of the deer, and permits have been issued, and we anticipate that that will be starting ASAP now that the weather has changed for the colder, and we do have the permits that were issued by DNR. What that means is that there is going to be culling going on until the end of February or until the permits have been maxed out. Most likely that means we're going to be culling to the end of February because there are a lot of permits the DNR issued, but we're probably going to be filling about 100. And the hope is to have that done as soon as possible. Same program as before. The meat is going downtown, and we're using people that have been involved with the program before. Chief Warnick, do you have anything you want to add to the culling?
No, we did a great job.
We're looking forward to it. On a personal note, several of the board members tonight have noted that we do have a new management team in place. I would indicate their first commission meeting was absolutely complete. Chief Porcerelli did a great job in terms of mentoring, bringing people behind him, bringing on people that can do the job, and it was just nice to see a seamless, effective transition. And again, my personal thanks to Chief Porcerelli for the great work that he did for all of those years. And his legacy continues with you 3 gentlemen, where you are stepping up there and taking care of business. The community probably hasn't even noticed that there's been a change, but we're looking forward to many, many years of a great cohesive team, and wish you well. And again, thank you for everything you've done so far. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bletcher. We'll move on to the Township Attorney. Mr. Sorty? No, nothing to add. Mr. Ream? Well, catching me. Okay, well, I do have a few things. Dale, I would ask you if you would put that on Elmo, and that'll be one of the later. Well, I have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You're too kind. First of all, I'm going to, while I send up, Chief Murdoch and I mean, what's the status on the bridges? Chief, you've got an update on the one bridge, if you would, on the Meso. They call it the East River Road Bridge because it really is the only bridge on East River Road, but it's one to Meso Island or Upper Hickory. Chief, what do we know on that so far?
Our engineering, Mr. Sohio, we've been in contact with the county. The county has indicated to my office and to our engineering office that the Meso Island Bridge is slated for rehab this spring sometime. They haven't specifically come out with those dates yet. We have nothing in writing, but verbally that's been expressed to both our offices. That being said, I've been working with Ohio on a contingency plan if that bridge was to fail unexpectedly. I do have engineering drawings in place. They've been forwarded to the DNR and to the Corps, and they're sitting on my desk for immediate movement on it if anything does happen. Just to express concern with that bridge, if it does go bad, it won't be in 10 minutes that bridge will be fixed. There'll be a few problems that the residents will have to deal with along with myself. So we're trying to plan our coordinating the rehab with the rehab of the bridge itself. So the replacement of the bridge. So it's kind of, we're coordinating everything right now, but we do have a plan in place if it does go down. So that's what we have.
So for those of you who've seen the West River Overpass closed off and the Park Lane Bridge closed off and think nothing's going on, there's Chief Murdoch thinks about it every day. He reminds me about it every day. We're working to find funding to get some commitment, some timetable from the county, and quite frankly, at the moment, not having much luck. But we're doing what we can doing the best we can with what we have to work with.
Yep.
But not a day goes by when we don't pester each other about what are we going to do, what have we done, what can we do better. So,
Absolutely.
Chief, I'm sorry, Mr. Fletcher.
Chief, when you talk about rehab, are you going to do one lane at a time then, as opposed to doing a ramp around?
Yeah, at the present time, the county says they're only going to shut down one lane at a time. Not being an engineer, I've been on that bridge. I don't know how they're going to accomplish that, but they're the engineers. So, but they said one side at a time will be replaced. So,
Any idea how long the total project would be? 4 months, 6 months?
oh, I would
2
suspect
months?
once they have everything on site, that bridge will be replaced in a matter of a week or two. So. Yeah, I just want the residents to know that the supervisor's office, along with Dale's office and my office and the city engineer, we're paying attention to this. But I just want to, without saying anything, it's just we're struggling with the county. We're definitely struggling with them. So there's no written documents. There's nothing. They can't tell us anything, and we're still fighting it. So.
Next time, good news, Chief, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Chief. All right, so you kind of know where we stand there. Speaking, and just bridges, okay? There are 13 bridges internal to Grosse Ile. We also have the toll and the Grosse Ile Parkway bridges too, but there are 13 internal bridges. 2 are private. That means there are 11 bridges that are county responsibility within the island. These are the things that we think about, that the chief thinks about. Several of those need some degree of repair, and none of them are cheap. That's going to bring me back to some legislation, and I'm moving all over my page here of things to talk about, but there's legislation, and this one is in the House. And the reason I know about this is because I'm going to the Townships Association conference in April. They put their agenda out. Those things that the Townships Association support, those they oppose. This is one they strongly support. It's House Bill 5490, which would allow some townships to become their own road funding authority. The roads that are under county road commission jurisdiction could become township jurisdiction. So if we use Riverview as an example, I think the number we got was they get about $900,000 a year for their road repairs. Of course, they have a trunk line road. They have major arteries. We would probably get nowhere near that. And if you look at bridges at $1 million each, if we got $500,000 a year from the county or from the state with the county out of the loop, it's just not much money. It just isn't enough money to really. We'd get one repaired. By the time we got them all repaired, the first one would need repair again. I don't have an answer to it. I'm just want to get out. These are the things that we think about. Another piece of legislation that is coming up, which is House Bill 4986, also Senate Bill 1042. Currently, disabled veterans are exempted from paying property tax. This was it was a good intention, but it just pulled the rug out from under us on our revenue collection. The state just said, you're not collecting those property taxes anymore. Well, we pay our police department, we pay our fire department with those property taxes to have, in our case, about $50,000, I believe is the most recent number estimate Ann gave me, taken out of our budget. I have no way of making that up. It's just gone. So there's this legislation I mentioned. They will, transfer that exemption from property tax to an income tax credit. And it's beneficial in that not only an income tax credit equal to the property taxes you would have saved, but also like 25% of your rent if you're not paying property taxes. So it is a beneficial change. It's beneficial to the township, and it's beneficial for the veterans. So we're looking forward to that, and as those wiggle their way through the legislature, I'll try to keep advised. These are very important to me, and I think to Grosse Ile Township. On happier notes, those of you who supported the Grosse Ile Historical Society's Holiday Boutique, I have a personal interest in that, as my wife was one of the co-chairs. It was a record-setting year, very well supported. So, and that's the Historical Society's major support of funding. So, if those of you who supported it, thank you very much. Those of you who supported our downtown businesses, thank you. Angela says thanks. Commission committee chairs, it's that time. Start nominating your chairs so that they can be approved at the March 30, whatever, the close of March, the final business meeting of this fiscal year, which will be the second meeting in March. So let's have those names forward, bring it through your processes, give us candidates so the board can approve those for another year, or new names. Nature and Land Conservancy, our International Wildlife Refuge, they're having what is it? They had the bird. It's a bird count of birds over the winter. They had this on Sunday. They're having another one on February 10th. It's the plants and animals that winter here and how do they survive, how they've adapted. It's if you haven't been to the refuge, it's worth it just to go down there and walk around. It's just beautiful. It's quiet. When the lake, the bay starts freezing over, you see the geese and swans finding the open water. And it's just beautiful to watch. But with that presentation they're going to have, it'll be a worthwhile afternoon. February 10th is the next one. And the last thing I asked Chief to put the emergency preparedness. Every household should have gotten one of these DTE plans. Now, actually, we are outside. They have a 10-mile ring of concern. We are, except for some of the docks at Ford Yacht Club, all of Grosse Ile Township, all inhabited Grosse Ile Township is outside those 10-mile rings. Somebody's getting his night qualification done. But I want you to please look through that. The opening pages, it discusses shelter in place, evacuation, what you need to know, and it's very descriptive, very informative. So please take the time to read that. It's unlikely a Fermi incident, which is unlikely in the first place, and even less likely would affect us. But the terms shelter in place, how we evacuate, just mirror our emergency response plans, but it's well detailed, and every one of you says a copy of it. So take a little time to read it, become familiar with it in case we have to implement an emergency plan for whatever reason. It'll be fairly fresh in your mind what we expect you to do, what you'll do to preserve your safety. And that concludes my update. With that, open it to a public comment. Mrs. Walker. Thought that was my dentist for a minute. Yeah.
Okay. All righty. First of all, Happy New Year, everybody. And it's 2019, which means it's the 7th season for We Kayak. Now, the reason I'm up here is we are going to be having a little get-together. It's free. It'll be at Riverside Kayak Connection, pizza, goodies, and just to kind of talk kayaking and kind of get that bug, the itch going. And that'll be in March. I'll have the exact date next in 2 weeks, but I thought I'd just let people know that something's coming. It'll be a nice time. And like I said, it's free and everyone's welcome, whether you kayak or not, come. And it is our 7th year. And then don't forget, day after Memorial Day, we'll be starting to paddle again. So I wanted to remind everybody, and Kim too, that if you need a picture for that, spring, summer, I know where you can get one. Anyways, kayaking is so pretty. So I'm subtle, but I thought what the heck? It's first year. All right, it's the first day of the new season. So anyways, March, we're going to have a party, and it'll be fun, and I hope everybody comes. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Walker, can I ask, please enjoy, and I know you'll do this, but educating on safety, that family that stranded themselves a couple weeks ago.
Don't even start me on that.
I know your continuing safety education program is extremely valuable. Please keep it up. At least it's not our people that are doing, at least.
Those were not our people, but no. There was a big thing last night on the Yackers. There's all these groups. I just want to explain to you. There's groups all over Canada, Illinois, all over, and they go out in the winter because they think it's no big deal. And I'm kind of an old hag about this. I go, you know what? My husband won't let me get into a boat once it starts getting into November. He just says, that's it, you're not going. And this is when I actually listen to Tim, and he's right. And let's face it, how often do I listen? But no, and these yakkers were out yesterday, and it was a bunch of senior ladies. And what were they wearing? They were wearing nice, thick pants that could get wet. They were all together. They can't help themselves. If they don't have a dry suit, which is what, Tom, what did they run, about $500-700 a dry suit? Plus, yeah, plus they weren't wearing the right garb. Why put yourself in this situation? I don't understand it. I mean, if I listen to my husband, common sense says don't go on the water. It's a summertime sport. Take up a hobby, go to the ice skating rink, do something else. But yeah, I keep pushing it. And, we have some people on the island, they went kayaking around Belle Isle about 2 weeks ago. And they think I'm just being, a hack.
Possibly go wrong.
Well, that thing is, anything, and most of them had these cheapy little kayaks. The $200 ones from Dunham's or wherever they get them from. They're fine if you want to putz around in a little small lake. We're on a lake. We've got a current. You've got to be smart. I mean, we really do try, and I don't know if you guys know it, but when you see that front picture of We Kayak, it looks like something that the cowboys, they have a saddle thing on the back, a round thing. Well, it's called a lily pad, and I carry one every week so that if anybody goes in, you throw it in, they can sit on it, they can stand, they're not in the water. It's always safety first with our group, and not that something couldn't happen, God forbid. But you don't see us organizing winter. No.
Chief says thank you.
Oh, no. I wouldn't support it. But anyways, I keep trying to remind people, don't go. It's not smart. Take up another sport. Learn to knit. Do anything. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Other public comment. Mr. Clark. I didn't. Sorry. Oh, okay. Do you want to defer to Mr. Snyder, or do you want to? Oh, go ahead, Woody. You're halfway up here. Sorry, Tom. I did see. You're already there.
Okay, Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees.
You're not ready? I did. I have it turned over. Legal fees in the amount of Steiger.
Can you speak up?
In the amount of $13,804 for contract negotiations with Kotz and Stansker. What is it? Why?
Sangster.
I can hear $13,804.
$13,000 for labor negotiations. $13,804.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Since 1972, the government has built 3,000 miles of sound walls along the highway to protect nearby homeowners from traffic sounds. These walls cost $2 million per mile. The government has spent $6 billion on them. If the government can spend $6 billion on walls to protect homeowners from traffic noise, why can't they spend $5 billion on protect our lives? Soldiers are tools of the ruling elite. They do not die for the people; they die for corporate profits. War is a racket. General Smedley Butler, he was a Marine. Two-time Medal of Honor winner. If Trump wants Congress to fund the wall, he should just threaten to declassify the names of the congressmen who received $17 million in taxpayers' funds to pay off sexual harassment and assault claims unless they vote yes. Now, 5G is coming. If you don't know what it is, you better look it up because it can kill you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Snyder.
Tom Snyder, 8448 Rucker. Just want to bring to you guys' attention on New Year's Eve, we had a tree fall on a power line. It was about 10:30 in the evening. My neighbor had called, transformer had popped, obviously with the line being pulled off. Some concerns, she had heard some noises coming out of the line, and we had some concerns for safety for everybody there. I can't begin to tell you the response that we received from both the chief, the assistant fire chief, as well as officer, is it DPS, Carl? All three were there in an instant. Obviously, the officer I would expect to have not partaken in New Year's Eve celebration, but both the chief and the assistant chief were of sound mind and body, if that's okay to use. But I just
sound mind.
For tonight's purposes, we'll say yes. But I want you guys to know that and have the community know that the dedication that we have for fires as well as police here, I think sometimes gets taken for granted. I know that the 7 of you appreciate what they do, but I want to make sure our community understands what they do for us. I want to say thank you to all of you. I appreciate what you do, and I really hope the community understands what you do, and I want to say thanks to them.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Anybody want to top that? Any more public comment for tonight? Okay, with none offered, we had a discussion item, and Mr. Bletcher, do we?
We do, Mr. Supervisor. A discussion item would be an evolution of the hiring list that we started with the September meeting. Board approved that the police department proceed with a hiring list. We do have the retirement of Chief Porcerelli, which elevated Mark Warnick to the chief's position, Brent Harden to deputy chief, Ken Pellin to lieutenant, and now we have Pete Darsnick, who has moved into the detective bureau from the patrol position. What that means is that we have one vacancy at the very beginning entry level of the department. And what we're looking for is a discussion with that at a study session at the meeting immediately preceding our January 28 meeting, so we could sit down and try and find out what we are going to do with that vacancy. Chief has been tasked with starting out with the assumption that we're not going to be filling it, but what is the impact on that? So that if we then have to look at cutting programs, cutting safety, cutting services, what's the cost benefit on that? And he's going to give us, and the management team is going to give us a fresh set of eyes, if I can use that term, toward looking at that. I will also indicate that Chief is going to show you where he has been cutting, saving money with the budget. Lieutenant Pelland has approached us with various ideas that Ken has had that hopefully will help us out. And Deputy Chief Harden is going to look at that as well, using his staff and command experience that he's had for a number of years, as well as his duty with the Riverview Fire Department. So we're hoping that those three gentlemen can come in, give us a good idea what's the proper way to proceed. Do we want to, do we need an officer? If so, what's the cost benefit? What's the impact on the community? Essentially giving us fresh eyes on an old problem.
So with that, some of the things I'd like to be briefed or more familiar with your scheduling, because scheduling is everything. You know, how many boots on the ground, how many cars, how many officers do we have on patrol, how many do we need on patrol? Working that with all the other personnel issues, with vacations. These guys want to have time with their families too. You know, they some predictability in their schedule. So all these things, you know, I'd like the board to be exposed to how big the issue is. The money is real easy. You know, you've got about just under 2.75 mils, which covers about half of your budget. So the rest comes out of general fund and other, you know, court resources and whatnot. But that's just the dollar. That's the easy part of it. The hard part is, how do we keep the best people in the right position at the right time? So it'll be an interesting study session.
I have and Mark, if you would come up, because I have a question for you. How would all this fit in with the current academy and the people that are out there that would possibly fill the position? Timing-wise, I mean, if this waiting a couple of weeks.
Mark, can I address that very quickly?
I'd like Mark to address it.
We had 10 applicants, and we did interviews last week. And at this moment, we have 3 good applicants right now that we're going to do backgrounds on. And 2 of them are absolutely excellent.
So we're not at a point to hire anyway.
Not yet. No, we have to do backgrounds, which would probably take another 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so the 2-week wait is not a problem.
No, not at all. And also, I want to thank the Township Board for the kind words, for the management team and for our department, and also for Ann for putting on the little meet and greet we had downstairs. That was, and Margie. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, no Margie.
Okay, no
We've
Margie.
got Chief up there. Anybody other?
Yeah, Mark, I'm aware that we have the police department has a 5-year plan. It's very lengthy and depth. Are you saying that plan is no longer valid? It's going to be a new plan is going to be.
I didn't say that.
Okay, I'm asking. Is that the intent based on what I've?
We have a lot of things we're going to look at, management team, and we'll bring it to the board in 2 weeks.
I just want to ask, a lot of times we get into a study session before a meeting and then we end up being rushed. So I just want to make sure, even if it's necessary, to schedule a little earlier, just to make sure that we do have enough time to really discuss, to hear what you have to say.
That's fine, whatever time we want to have it.
Anything else for Chief? Anything else?
I'm good.
That's tonight's discussion. So,
Thank you.
Study session. Board, bring your questions, bring your data, and Ms. Darzniak, data.
Yep.
And we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Commission, we'll have seats for you. With that, so the motion to adjourn has been moved. Seconded by Trustee Bletcher. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. We'll call it at 9:02. Call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Again, Chief, Deputy Chief, Lieutenant, we have high hopes. Welcome aboard. Happy New Year.
I guess.